and good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the young people of the tube. Hope you're well today, hope you're feeling grand, and all is well in your world. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the Q&A Wednesday, everybody. Forgot where I was there for a second. Okay, we're back. Okay, so question one today, everybody, is, excuse me, do you think John Frusciante likes to use reverb? Yes, occasionally though, not all the time. He's very, very sparing with his use of reverb. He uses delay more than I'd say he'd use reverb, but songs like Tell Me Baby, for instance, in the chorus of Tell Me Baby, there's quite a lot of reverb on his guitar bass. Maybe not that much reverb, but, you know, in the chorus of Tell Me Baby, there's reverb. But also stuff, I think Venice Queen. I think songs like Venice Queen have it in as well. Don't Forget Me uses reverb. But John uses reverb sparingly. You know, he doesn't use it all the time, mainly because he's playing stadiums. And you don't need reverb when you're playing stadiums. Delay, yes. Reverb, no. You know, a big stadium has enough reverb, you know, for you to scrap your reverb pedal, really. It's cool to have it for the on-stage sound kind of thing, but it's, you know, if you start layering reverb on reverb on reverb, especially kind of pedal or amp reverb on top of room reverb, it can get a bit muddy and a bit messy. So yeah, he does use reverb, John does, but it's very sparingly. It's very kind of like, you know, it's like an occasional use, so to say. It's not all the time. So and John used a Holy Grail pedal for his reverb. That's Electro Harmonix Holy Grail. That's the pedal he used for his reverb. But again, it's very sparingly. It's off. Yeah, it's off most of the time. I did hear once that he ran reverb solely into the Silver Jubilee, but only for a short period of time. So the Silver Jubilee had reverb on it, and the Major had dry, but yeah, it was only for a short period of time until he went back to kind of having it off or on, depending on how he felt. Okay, so and he also had a reverb tank at one point, which I forgot to mention nearly. If you look at the By the Way era, John's actually got a reverb tank at the front left side of his pedal board. As you're looking at his pedal board, from John's perspective, the left side, he's actually got a Fender reverb tank, which he used apparently a fair bit. But he also has it at the Slane Castle gigs as well. You can see it at the Slane Castle gigs, front left side. But I don't think again, it's a very sparing kind of effect for John. He doesn't really use reverb a great deal. It's more kind of like, you know, create atmosphere or certain, you know, a desired effect at a certain times, I'd say. Okay, so yes, hope I answered this question. Moving on to question 2 now. Question 2 could get a bit ranty, so be prepared. Question 2. What do you think to today's music, and do you see a time when guitar bands or artists that write and perform their own music will dominate the charts again? Do I see a time where guitar bands will dominate the charts again? Yes. Will it happen anytime soon? No. I don't believe so for a second. I do believe things go in cycles, and the guitar has been called dead so many times, I find it hard to believe that it won't make a resurgence at some point. But I don't think it'll be in the way we're expecting it, if that makes any sense. I think, you know, it'll come across as something totally different. It won't be electric guitar like it's like Robert Johnson to it won't be like Robert Johnson to Buddy Guy to Hank Marvin to Eric Clapton to Jeff Beck to Jimi Hendrix to Robin Trower to whoever. You know what I mean? It's not going to be guitar like we expect it. I think guitar will make a comeback, but it'll be a lot different than we're expecting it to be. I don't think it'll be straight down the middle, kind of like, you know, kind of how it was before. I reckon it'll be from a different perspective, totally. And I think that's how guitar will make a comeback. I don't believe for 1 second it'll ever happen Because there's been times where the guitar has started to die out, like say in the 50s, it was brought back with people like like Buddy Holly and the blues music, and in the 60s you had people like Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix, who obviously just revolutionized the guitar. And then in the 70s you had people like Van Halen, and then in the 80s you have all your shredders. But the guitar was dying out in the 70s, due to kind of like prog rock, and there was synthesizers and all that kind of thing. It was killing the guitar. And then in the 80s the guitar was dying out again. And then in the 90s the guitar was dying out again until kind of Oasis and Nirvana came back on the scene, doing kind of like guitar related rock stuff. Simple guitar related rock stuff, not kind of technically advanced stuff. And now the guitar is on a massive decline, probably more so than it ever has. There definitely reason to believe more so now than ever that the guitar is struggling. I mean, the guitars are selling out the doors in guitar shop left, right, and centre, because the guitar will always sell. And I don't think the guitar's in any danger at all of ever dying out. It just won't happen. It can't happen. The guitar is such a strong instrument. It'll never die. All that thing is like, is the guitar dead? No, it's not dead. Don't be silly. The guitar is not dead. As long as there's people playing the guitar, it certainly ain't dead. Until literally everybody puts down their guitars and goes, oh, it's a completely useless instrument now. The guitar will never die, and I don't intend to ever do that. So if I'm the last person ever to do it, then the guitar's still alive. If that makes any sense. Not to say I will be, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't know if that made any sense whatsoever. But I do believe when the guitar does come back, it's going to be a totally different animal to what we think it is. It's not going to be, it's not going to be. Oh, it's definitely not going to be. It's not going to be that kind of thing, I don't think. I think it's going to be a lot more kind of in the mainstream kind of thing. Maybe more synthy in a way, if that makes any sense. I don't think you're going to get guitar appearing in popular music again with kind of what's been. I think it's going to be totally different. The person who's going to bring the guitar back to the forefront is going to be approaching it from a totally different standpoint. And with the way technology's going, I don't think guitar's way back into popular culture is through rock, blues, metal, or anything like that. It's not that way. It's going to have to kind of like gradually work its way back to that. It's going to have to go poppy and be accepted in the pop world, and in the charts first. And the only way that's going to happen, in my opinion, is for the guitar to be approached from like a synthy perspective. You know what I mean? It's not going to be kind of like big bashing out chords and big guitar solos. It's going to be used at the forefront of like a pop band. You know what I mean? Much it pains me to say, it's something like Busted. Or a boy band where they use guitars. You know what I mean? That's the way the guitar is going to make its way back into popular culture. Like I said, but the guitar is as an instrument, the guitar is selling no end. You know what I mean? The guitar, if you look at the statistics of how the guitars sell from guitar shops, guitars sell really quickly. A lot of guitars are being sold. Lots of expensive guitars are being sold. So it means there's a lot of people playing and learning, and that's really cool. But in popular culture, the guitar is not the instrument to play. You know what I mean? It's the pop police, everybody. They're coming to get me. If you even heard the siren, it's like Simon Cowell's coming to arrest me for playing guitar. Anyway, but yeah, in this day and age, I mean, you do get guitars. You do get guitar bands in popular culture. You got bands like Greta Van Fleet. They're quite up there, and certain other bands. But you get a lot of kind of older bands. Guns N' Roses, Rolling Stones, Bon Jovi. You get a lot of those bands who are still about, kind of doing what they do, and they're accepted for that. But I think for people growing up now in this generation, I don't think the guitar is as important as it was for, say, my generation or anybody's generation out there. You know, being an 80s, 90s kid, me, kind of like growing up through that period, you know, you got a lot of that, you know, especially kind of Oasis and Nirvana. I grew up on listening to Oasis and Nirvana, and also grew up listening to punk music as well, because my dad's a massive punk fan. So I'd always listen to, when I was really young, we'd all listen to kind of like, you know, punk bands like Sex Pistols and The Clash and the Ramones and all that kind of thing. We'd also listen to like bands like the Pogues, who were kind of like, you know, who were up there as well. But I do feel that kind of like popular music these days it's generic cookie cutter music for the masses. It doesn't mean anything, in my opinion. It's not going to be remembered 100 years, 200 years, whatever, 50 years from now. You know, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to point fingers. But, you know, who's big now will not go down in history as a revolutionary musician. They're not going to be the next Bob Marley or Jimi Hendrix. You know, they're not going to be the next kind of like, you know, inspirational musician. They're just not, because the music they create is not designed for that kind of thing. It's just not. It's designed for a totally different audience. And it's quick, fast, overproduced garbage for the masses. And unfortunately, it's kind of like it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, so to say. You know, it's dangerous. It's extremely dangerous, but it doesn't look like it's dangerous. And the same thing with like MP3 and free downloads and the ability to just buy one song off an album instead of going out and having to buy the physical album, you know, and have it with you. You can just go onto Spotify or iTunes, which I have a huge problem with, and go download, and you've got that song. You don't have to buy the rest of the album. You don't know. You'll never know that you downloaded song 5 because that's the one you like and that's the one in the charts at number 1. Okay, that's great. Yeah, you bought that one song. But how do you know that number 4 or number 6 won't change your life? Or how do you know that band playing at your local pub tonight that you can't be asked to go down and see, you know, because you know, whatever reason, isn't going to change your life musically? You know what I mean? This is my massive problem with popular music, is there is no opportunity, and a lot of people these days are not willing to give new music or guitar music or any other style of music a chance other than what they're comfortable with or what they're fed. You know what I mean? There's a lot of kind of like, you know, this is what you'll listen to, you'll like it, you'll download this track because we say so. You know, forced on people through the big record companies. And with crummy, crappy programs like X Factor and stuff like that, just churning out this garbage, you know, it's accepted culturally, and that just really hurts to think that, you know, that's it. And like, you know, what do you want to be when you're older? I'm just going to be an X Factor singer. It's like, give over, man. That's not realistic. It's stupidity, and you'll get one hit, and then you'll be back to working the Tesco night shift. But popular music is broken, in my opinion. It's dangerous, it's nasty, it's a horrible thing. Like I say, the whole thing of downloading, I purposely do not put my money on Spotify or iTunes, or the only place I've got my music is Bandcamp, because they only take a very small percentage of what you make when you sell your music, which is the way it should be. Not iTunes, you basically take everything, or you have to put your money. Yeah, you've worked on your single of 4, you know, you've worked on an EP of 4 tracks, and you put it up for pennies because that's all iTunes will let you do, and then they take most of that away from you. It's totally pointless. There needs to be a huge boycott of these sites, streaming sites. Spotify, iTunes need to all go down the toilet because they're killing music. They're killing it. They're killing what music is. You know, it's cheapening music, and I can't stand it. As you know, I'm getting very passionate about it because it really upsets me. It cheapens music, and I can't stand to see it. As a musician who has spent 16 years learning to play a guitar and learning to express emotions through this guitar, which I'm still learning at. You know, I want to be able to connect with people. And I see music today that's got no relevance whatsoever. It's like, you know, you're just talking about, like, you know, going out and getting the new iPhone or whatever. It's like, you know, all these name drops in things. Like, you know, it's corporate sponsorship nonsense. Nice war. You know, it's just because, you know, just because you want to be the next big thing, just because fame and fortune is the way to go these days. Just stop it! You know, it needs to stop. It needs to stop, and I can't stand it. I bet you can't tell. But yeah, I'm getting really kind of worked up about it. But because it's annoying. You know, there's people like... There are so many amazing bands out there who will never get a chance because it's not in popular culture to like that style of music right now. Either it be a guitar band or a funk band or a reggae band or whatever. Because it's not the chosen style, which is this crap cookie cutter nonsense that is just kind of like spoon-fed to the masses, just rammed down their throats constantly with stuff like the X Factor and all crap like that. Bands don't get a look in. It's very rare that you'll see young kids these days listening to, you know, really guitar-led or melody or really deep song-driven music. Because it's not the chosen way. It's not what they're brought up on. And this is what's worrying, is I do feel that we're responsible for the cheapening of music, because we all kind of jumped on the bandwagon of downloading music and this, that and the other, and it got to a point a couple of years ago where I was like, I'm stopping this. I'm totally stopping this. I can't hack it. I can't hack downloading music. If I like a song that a band does, I'll go out and buy the album and I'll give the album a go, like we used to. It's a very easy trap to fall into, to just kind of get that one song and kind of like, you know, well, that's all I want. I don't care about the rest of their album. You know, but it's like, God, I don't know. I'm losing my way a bit, everybody. So just bear with me for a minute. I'm getting a bit... Take a breath. A bit of a manic episode. But yeah, it needs to stop. You know, iTunes needs to get out. Spotify needs to get out. All these big corporations just making music their little plaything needs to get out, because, you know, guitar music will never die. It just won't die. It will not die. As long as people are still playing guitars, and as long as there's still kind of like, you know, bands and people playing guitar like us, then guitar will never die. It won't die. We will not go away. We're always going to be there one way or another, whether people like it or they don't like it. But it's painful to see how it's being pushed aside for... You know, music with substance is like, you know, I don't want that. I want this song talking about the new iPhone, because that's what's in popular culture, and that's what's cool, because everyone needs a phone. It's like, you know, pack it in. You know, it's like, oh, you know, this, that, and the other is the coolest thing, so I'm gonna sing about it. It's like, no, sing about something else that's more important to people. Like, I don't know, struggling through life, you know. And make people feel less alone than they do. Because I do feel that music these days is alienating people into their own little worlds. There's so many people walking around with headphones in and listening to, you know, generic MP3 crap that's kind of like, you know, it's not only damaging for your ears, but it's damaging to interaction and music, you know, music in general. It's kind of like, why... What happened to kind of like, you know, having music on really loud at a party and like, you know, and the other... I'm not sure that happens, but I don't know. I'm maybe being a bit of a dinosaur. I don't know. But popular music's crud. Absolute crud. It's just never gonna withstand the test of time. And that's the point. You know, it's quick music for the masses now. Instead of like, you know, we're not thinking about the long term here. It's just a case of like, that's what it is. Let's get it out. Let's make our millions, you know, and then we can kick that person into the trash bin, and we can get the other person in. And once we've done with them, we can kick them out and we can get the new person in. Everything's got such a quick turnover, and it's like there's no longevity in music anymore. And it's terrifying to think of these poor people they put up there on pedestals saying these are the new best artists with their number one hit, and just to think like, you know, in a year or two you won't be anywhere. People probably won't even remember who you are. You know, and the pressure they're put under would be horrific. You know, their contracts would state such horrific things that it doesn't even bear thinking about. I wouldn't, like I say, you couldn't pay me to be in a situation that some of these famous so-called artists are in. You couldn't pay me to be in their situation. I wouldn't want to be in that situation. It's not about that. Music isn't about that. And I say it's all about cheapening music, which is all what's going on now. With MP3s, with downloads being dead cheap, the artists not getting their money, to be able to fund them to do what they want, to be able to progress and naturally, mature musically. It's not there. A good example would be Noel Gallagher, I could think of here. I'm ranting and raving, so I do apologise for this, everybody. But a good example would be Noel Gallagher. When Noel Gallagher released one of his albums, I forget what it was, but I remember hearing his interview with him. He was talking about when they put the album out, they sold something like 6,000 hard copies. That was it. In a period of time, they sold like 6,000 hard copies of the album. The downloads for the album were something like 44,000. Something crazy like that. That was downloading. People downloaded it 44,000 times. But the download was cheaper. And Noel said, having come from that time, Noel came from that time where, record companies would put money into you. They'd kick you out the door on tour to promote your album. And then they make money back off sales of the album as you tour. And then, after you broke even, you start earning a living and then you can progress. That's gone. And Noel, I'll get to Noel in a sec, but I'll get back to what I was going to say about Noel in a sec. But Noel said, like, if everyone had bought hard copies of the album for full price, because download was obviously cheaper, and everyone was just downloading the songs they wanted, they weren't even getting the whole album. He said, if he was an upcoming artist and he did that solo and that many people bought the hard copies instead of the downloads, he would never have to work again. The money he would have made off that would have ensured that he could have just made music for the rest of his life and we're not worried about it. And I do feel that bands like Oasis and Nirvana and bands like that were the last of a dying breed. I don't feel that will happen again anytime soon. That's that huge scene of guitar-related music that meant something, and was really just produced by people, not people after making money. They were making music for the right reasons. I'm getting carried away, everybody. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think the guitar will make a comeback in the way we think it will. When it comes back, it'll be weird. It'll be different. And it'll be unexpected. Whether it'll be good, whether it'll be bad, I don't know. But to get back to stuff like Oasis and Nirvana and the blues and rock and heavy metal and reggae and funk stuff, I reckon it'll take a long time. Because it's just not, or if ever, get back to that point. The guitar will make a comeback, no doubt, but it won't be in the way we expect it, I believe. I don't think it won't be people like us, sadly. Much as it pains me to say it, playing like John Frusciante and Jimi Hendrix music and Rory Gallagher stuff. It won't be like that. It'll be totally different. We will be kind of like, we'll be classed as, again, it's kind of classed as old now. It breaks my heart. Absolutely breaks my heart. It really upsets me. But the guitar isn't dead. The guitar will never die as long as we're here. But music has to just stop being cheapened by big corporations, and also we have a hand in it as well. If we don't download albums, we go and buy them. Things like iTunes and Spotify have nowhere to go. If no one's using their service, then I remember going to like local record shops and stuff like that, like around this area, and it was great fun. You would go through the CDs and the records and the tapes. And stuff like that, and you would find stuff like, oh, amazing, and you'd walk out there with like a bag full of CDs that you go home and you just spend the rest of the week just listening to these songs. I only know of one record shop in the entire area where I live now. One record shop that sells and is independent. There's none. I remember going into places like Woolworths and there was big selections of music and stuff like that. That's all gone, and it's just like, it's heartbreaking. And as a musician, it's heartbreaking because it does feel that like you're trying to kickstart a dead donkey, so to say. It does feel like that sometimes, and it really gets me down, and it really, it's upsetting me, to be honest with you, massively. To think that that's the way it's going, and all this, all these things of like, people wearing Nirvana t-shirts and not knowing who they are, and Rolling Stones t-shirts and not knowing who they are because the logo's cool. My God, it just words do not express my anger towards that. So there was a video of this guy showing this girl. This girl's wearing a Nirvana t-shirt, and this guy shows her Smells Like Teen Spirit. She doesn't know who it is, and it's like, you're wearing the t-shirt. You know, show some respect. You know, and that's what it comes down to. There's no respect for music these days from the higher ups, and music is just treated as a cheap thing, a commodity, if you will, that people can just get whenever they want it, and they don't have to kind of like, you know, wait for it anymore. They don't have to. I mean, I remember having to wait for Stadium Arcadium to come out, and that was only 2006. I mean, that's horrific. I remember having to wait for What's the Story, Morning Glory. I remember having to wait for Be Here Now. I remember having to wait for In Utero and stuff like that. And I remember having to wait for all sorts of albums because they weren't coming out straight. You couldn't just get them like that. You had to wait. And it creates so much buzz. And that's just gone. And it just cheapens music to the max. It's because you can just get it whenever you want it. I want that song, click, done, got it. Yeah. Oh, well, how much did it cost me? 5p. Oh, great. You know, how much of that 5p does anybody of the artist see? You know, there are still bands out there. Like I say, there are still guitar bands out there. Radiohead, you know, like Greta Van Fleet. You know, there are still guitar bands, but they're not. But there's a lack of them. There's a lack of real music. You know what I mean? There's a lot of kind of like just generic cookie cutter music and all that kind of nonsense, but there is not enough music of substance just because it's not the in thing right now. You are not going to get, and you're not going to get it back until music stops being cheapened, and in my opinion, I feel it's just kind of like really, it's like a throwaway thing. Like a lot of the artists who are signed to these major labels, they're throwaway. You know, once they're done, they're done. Bye. Don't care about you anymore. Don't need you. I've made my money off you. You can go back to working a night shift at Tesco stacking shelves. You know, and that's just not good enough. You know, and all this co-writer nonsense. And I do feel that, like, the last great scene for music was the Britpop and the grunge era. You know, I feel that after that, things started to just, whoa, and we're just doing this, music-wise. You know, and it's not just the guitar, it's music in general. I think the quality of music is just shocking. It's cheap, like I say, it's just cheap stuff for the masses. And, you know, this is all my own opinion, everybody. So, you know, don't take it as gospel. It's just, you know, some idiot in a room's opinion. You know, it doesn't mean anything necessarily. It means everything to me, but it doesn't have to mean anything to anybody else. You know, it's just my opinion. But it just, as a musician who spent time learning the ins and outs of music and trying to convey music and convey emotions and experience through one of these, it's heartbreaking to see that's not really there. It's there, but it's not there. You know what I mean? Like I say, there is guitar bands, there is guitar, but there isn't. It's like, you know, it's a lot more kind of generic samples and this, that, and the other. You don't really need the diversity that, you know, the diversity that we used to have isn't really there. You know, it's heartbreaking. It really is. I don't know. I think I've ranted and raved enough about that, so I'm going to move on, everybody. So I do apologise for the rant. I think that was a very long rant, so I do apologise. But do I think guitar bands will dominate the charts again? Yeah, but the guitar won't be what we expect it to be. It won't be Jimi Hendrix. It won't be Noel Gallagher, Kurt Cobain. It won't be Bon Jovi. It won't be Cream. It won't be Led Zeppelin. It won't be guitar like we've heard it. It'll be something different that gets people clicked on. And it'll probably be something, you know, synthy in a way. And, you know, but, and again, the problem, again, just to finish off, because I've talked about this for way too long and I'm going to have to rush you with questions. But everybody, the music scene has created this thing of, I want it now. Like I was talking about earlier on when having to wait for albums. I remember to wait for Stadium Arcadium. I saw they released Danny California video on Channel 4 in 2006, about a month before the album came out. It was released on telly. I mean, when was the last time that happened on Channel 4? Just terrestrial telly. And then I saw Chili Peppers playing that live on the Jonathan Ross show. They did Danny California and give it away. And then I had to wait like another couple of weeks to get it. And also the Slain Castle DVD, I had to wait for that as well. And again, it creates hype. But everybody... A lot of the thing this day and age is I want it now. I don't want to have to wait for it. I don't want to have to kind of like, you know, this, that, and the other. I want it now. That's the culture, that's the cultural thing we have. That's the cultural problem I think we have at this point in time is I want it now. I want that now. I want that. I want that. I want fame. I want fortune. I want it all now. How can I get it? And it's like, it's not good enough, man. You need to wait. You know, good things do come to those who wait. If you don't work for something, you haven't earned it. And if you haven't earned it, you don't deserve it. And, you know, I feel that kind of like, you know, it's with the cheapening of music and everything like that, it really just bugs me. It just really upsets me, everybody. Sorry, I'm getting quite funny. So I do apologise if any of that was a bit over the top, but it really, I'm trying to emote the way I actually feel about things. It's really important for me to be able to get that kind of thing out, because it really, if it sticks with me, it damages me. And I do need to get it out. So thank you for your question. But like I say, guitar bands, what do I think today's music? Most of it. Some of it's amazing. Don't get me wrong. There is amazing music out there, but you've really got to go hunting for it. Mainstream can just do one, as far as I can say. And companies like iTunes and Spotify and all that. Oh, it's exposure. No, it's not exposure. You are cheapening music, and you're basically making bloody... it's just stupid. I don't like it. And like I say, if everybody stopped using iTunes, Spotify, and everything like that, if everyone just stopped using it and went back to buying the CDs and playing CDs and records and tapes, then they wouldn't have a platform to take advantage of music and musicians, of good bands. It's extortion, in my opinion. You know, you're just taking their stuff. You're taking their music, putting it on your platform, pushing it out there, and not giving anything back to the person who's doing it in the first place. Anyway, moving along, everybody. So, I just can't stand streaming services. Like, the only one I've got is Bandcamp, and I will never go on any other. I will not go on any other platform other than Bandcamp, because I like the way they do it. You know, they only take a certain amount of what you earn. And in all fairness, you can do really well with places like people like, but there are websites like Bandcamp. It's just the big ones who are horrific, you know. Anyway, I'm going to have to move on. Sorry, everybody. So I hope I answered your question. Wasn't really an answer. See that? Anyway, I'm going to move on to question 3. So I hope... I'm just going to move on. Sorry. So question 3. Breathe. Question 3. It's hard to get back now, everybody. It's really hard to get back. I'll be back. Sorry about everyone else. That's take a bit of a time out from that. I'm going to do my best to answer the rest of your questions, but my brain's gone. So anyway, moving on to question 3. Question 3 today, everybody, is how do you do the muted strum bend up around the 19th or 20th fret? I'm not 100% sure what you mean, but I'm guessing you mean something like this. Something like that. Where you kind of got this kind of like big kind of scrapey noise before you hit the bend. I don't know. It's hard to tell what you mean by muted strum. I'm guessing it's that. I'm guessing that's what you mean. Basically, it's very, very simple, actually. It's a really, really cool thing. I've kind of got it from people like Gary Moore, who does it a lot. Basically, all you're doing is you're hitting all the open strings, and then you go to bend it. So if you're bending up the, say, 17th fret, or the 19th fret even, sorry, you know, you just hit the open strings, down, and then up, and then when you come down again, hit that high E string. You know, and it gives you that kind of sound. You hear it a lot in kind of like stuff like like Gary Moore's The Loner, when he comes to this high note. I've lost it. Like that kind of thing. My brain isn't with me anymore, everybody. Question 2 has destroyed me, so I do apologise. There's going to be mistakes from here on out. So basically all it is, it's just strumming open strings, and then you can do one, and then bend up on the up, or you can do 2 strums, and then bending up on the third. So fairly straightforward. Really, really cool technique to do. It just takes a bit of getting used to. So I hope that's answered your question. I'm very well aware now that I might not be answering these questions very well, but like I say, just one more, yeah, really slow. I'll pitch harmonic. Anyway, but yeah, hope that's answered your question. Gonna move on to question 4 now. Okay, so question 4 is a couple. Question 4A, if you will, is can we get an updated guitar collection video? Yes, I'll get to it at some point. Yeah, I'll get to an updated video. I'll look at the old one, see which ones I've shown you, and I'll do an update, so to say. You also asked what happened to all the vintage brand guitar love. Do you still own any of your vintages anymore? Yeah. I'm purposely steering clear of vintage at this point in time, simply because of the horror stories I've heard. I spoke about this in a recent video where I've tried a couple of vintages recently that were just diabolical. Horrific guitars. Horrific. The necks didn't fit, sharp frets, bad frets, uneven fretboards, truss rods that don't work, guitars that don't stay in tune, bad setups, bad sound, bad quality, bad guitars. So I'm distancing myself from them. I'm not playing my Lemon Drop and I'm not playing my V6. I still have them, but I'm not playing them because I can't talk good about a company when that's what they're putting out. You know what I mean? It's horrific. It's not good enough. And I've heard it a lot. I put it out there, and it does seem to be the kind of like, you know, the majority people who have tried vintage guitars recently are actually kind of like shocked by the quality. The quality has gone down, which is not good enough. And I'm not about to stand behind a company and say they're really, really good when they're not anymore. Because my vintage Lemon Drop is an absolute tank. You know, it's an amazing guitar. I love it to bits. It's my favourite Les Paul. And I love it to bits. And the same with my vintage V6. I love that guitar to bits as well. It's one of my favourite Strat kind of guitars. I just love it. I absolutely love it to bits. But they're not what they're producing anymore. The V6 that they're producing now isn't anything like the V6 I've got. And the Lemon Drop they're producing isn't anything like the Lemon Drop I've got either. They're just not the same. And I'm not about to kind of like start recommending their guitars to anybody if they're of poor standard. Because it just looks bad. And I'm not about to do that. I don't want to point. When people say, should I buy a Lemon Drop? I say to them now, no. No, don't buy one because of all the horror stories I've heard, I've read, and I've been told about the way they are now. You know, because it's not good. It's just not good enough. You can't. If you make a name for yourself making really good, cheap, affordable, budget instruments that everyone can afford, and they're really good quality, and they play good, they sound great, and they're all that, and everyone latches onto them and goes, these are amazing, and then you just let it fall because either you're working on something else or whatever. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough. And until I start to hear better things about vintage again, I will not be backing them as a company. I will not be playing their guitars. Their guitars will stay upstairs in cases out of the way. I will not be playing them because it gives people the wrong impression. You know, because I don't want people to look at my videos, and it's annoying because I've done so many with my Lemon Drop and my V6. And it upsets me because people might see that, go out and buy one on my recommendation, and it's a pile of cack, and come after me, which I'm not very good at dealing with. And it's not me who's doing it. It's, you know, because like I say, the Les Paul I've got and the Strat I've got, they're really good quality. And all the vintages that I've had were amazing. But the ones I've seen and tried recently are horrific. I have never seen anything like it in my life. That Telecaster that I tried was just... I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I literally... It didn't function as a guitar. It looked nice, but it didn't function as a guitar. It looked nice from a distance. When you got up close, you actually saw all the imperfections. They stuck out like a sore thumb. But until vintage are back to making good affordable guitars again, good affordable instruments, I will not be backing them. I love mine to bits and will always love my Lemon Drop and my V6, definitely. But I cannot stand by a company whose quality has slipped so much to the point where they're getting more bad press than they are good. You know, it just looks bad, and I'm not going to be part of it, so I'll just distance myself from it. I've got no, I've got no want to be part of it. If that's what, if that Telecaster and those other guitars that I've seen and what people have told me, if that's what they're willing to do at this point in time, I don't want anything to do with it. I just don't want anything to do with it. If you're not putting out guitars to the standard you were, I mean, they're substandard as they are, then I don't want anything to do with it. So I still love vintage guitars, but not the new ones. I think they're horrific. I think it's just terrible. And I think they're shooting themselves in the foot multiple times with a shotgun doing this. You're just burning bridges. It's just silly. It's absolutely silly, and I don't like it. So yeah, I still do own my vintages, but I will not be you won't be seeing them anytime soon in any videos, because I just don't want someone to get the wrong impression. Oh, that vintage sounds amazing. And they get it, and it's got sharp fret edges, and the action's about that high, and it doesn't play, and it's like, well, what's going on? Because it comes back. It comes back in a negative way, and I'm not being part of that. I am not being part of, if that company's quality's gone downhill, they need to address that as soon as possible, because it sets the wrong example. It's the wrong thing. It's the wrong thing. Anyway, but yeah, so I still love my vintage guitars, but I will not play them out of just the fact of it sends the wrong impression if I'm playing my Lemon Drop and somebody goes out and buys one and it's a pile of cack and mine's not. It just looks bad. So I'm not doing that. So yeah, I still do have them, but I won't be playing them because of the quality control issue that vintage seems to be having in this day and age. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. I've heard so many stories now. People saying they have old vintages and they went to buy a new one and the new one was just terrible and it was unplayable and they sent it back. Guitar shops, local guitar shops who have ordered them in only to send them back because they're not good enough as well. It's like, what's going on, vintage? What is going on? So, okay, so your last part of question 4 was opinion on the Fender Super Champ X2. I can't give an opinion, everybody. I'm sorry, because I haven't played it. And I don't like to give an opinion on something I haven't played. It's not really fair to the product. So if I haven't played it, I can't really give an opinion. But so yeah, Fender Super Champ. I can't really give an opinion on that. I'm really sorry. It's not really an answer, is it? But yeah. So but I hope that answers your question. Like I say, I will do get to an updated guitar collection video at some point. And like I say, the vintages are just gonna stay out of the way for this point in time until I start to hear that their quality's gone back up to where it was and they start making really good guitars again without all these flaws. Because like I said, I am not going to stand behind a company and say their guitars are good when they're not. It's just not. It's not on. It's not the thing. It's not cool. It gives the wrong impression. And it makes people go out and, if people go out and buy one of those things on the basis of that and it's absolute rubbish, it just looks bad. But it's, it just looks bad. It really does. It's horrific. And I don't really know what's going on with vintage right now. I really don't. Sorry, everyone. I'm still really hyped up from question 2. So, but yeah, vintage it really upset me when I started to hear this stuff about vintage. And when I heard it and tried it for myself, I was like, oh no, what are you doing? What are you doing? It just blows my mind. Okay, so moving on to question 5, everybody. Before I get carried away with that one. Okay, so question 5. How do I relic my polyurethane finished Strat to look like John Frusciante's? I have a video on this. Basically, you just need a really, really sharp knife and you need to scrape the top layer away to the clear coat. I will put the link to the video, because this is polyurethane, this Strat. I will put the link to the video where I talk about how I did this guitar. Excuse me. In your question, in the description box below. So you can just go straight to the video. It was only about a week or 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Yeah, I'll put the link to the video where I talk about how I did this in that, because I spoke about it in detail in that video. So yeah, follow the link below, and yeah, hopefully that'll help you out. It can be done. It's just a lot harder than relicing nitro, and it's a bit more dangerous for your eyes if you don't wear eye protection. Always wear eye protection when relicing a polyurethane guitar, unless you want to lose your eyesight, and that's not cool. Okay, so because getting polyurethane in your eye hurts, trust me. Silly Dave forgot to use eye protection one time and it stung. Okay, so question 6, everybody. Question 6. Need to calm down. Question 6. What Jimi Hendrix album is your favourite? And if you had to pick one, and what do you think Jimmy's most underrated and overlooked song is? My favourite Jimi Hendrix album is Electric Ladyland. It's just unreal. You've got House Burning Down, you've got Voodoo Child, you've got Electric Ladyland itself, which is just an insane chord progression. Gorgeous. And say you got All in Watchtower and Voodoo Child on there as well. But there's every song on Electric Ladyland is just an amazing, amazing piece of music. It's just insane. And it's just stunning. It's stunning. I do think that one of Jimmy's most overlooked songs is 51st Anniversary. That song is immense. There's also there's tons, so many songs of Jimmy's that are overlooked by people listening to stuff like Voodoo Child and Purple Haze and Along the Watchtower. Even Castles Made of Sand is slightly overlooked. Jimmy's version of Bold as Love is overlooked, I feel. There's a lot of people. I see a lot of covers of Bold as Love, but they're all the John Mayer version. Yeah, they're all the kind of like position 4. It's all that kind of John Mayer version instead of the Jimmy version, which is a bit more. It's just a less aggressive. There's none of that kind of Steve Ray Vaughan. That kind of. There's none of that in Jimmy's playing. It's a lot more mellow. But Jimmy does get overlooked a lot these days. There's a lot of bad press for Jimmy these days, which is very, very misplaced and misguided, in my opinion. A lot of people saying, "Oh, Jimi Hendrix wasn't that good." It's like, now come on, let's not be silly here. Jimmy. That's another video altogether, and I'm going to get into another rant if I'm not careful. But I do love 51st Anniversary. I think Spanish Castle Magic gets overlooked as well as an amazing piece of music. I love Spanish Castle Magic. Hear My Train Coming is overlooked, I feel. Machine Gun is probably the most overlooked Jimmy song, but it's amazing because it is amazing. Machine Gun is literally one of the most iconic pieces of guitar playing I think that will ever be. It's just... Machine Gun is unreal. Machine Gun is otherworldly and scary guitar playing. There is something taken over him that night that is just... wow. What's going on? Yeah, it really is terrifying. Oh, Other songs. I mean, a lot of songs off Axis Borders Love are overlooked. Axis Borders Love is kind of one of those kind of like albums that kind of disappears almost. People know I Experience and Electric Ladyland, but kind of like, Axis Borders Love sits in the middle of them two, and it kind of gets overlooked a little bit. But you got Borders Love and Little Wing and all sorts of other stuff on there. Easy Rider is a great underrated Jimi track. Easy Rider, In From the Storm, Dolly Dagger, Freedom, diddly-dee. I'm going through songs, everybody. But yeah, I mean, there are a million underrated Jimi tracks, I think. They do get overshadowed by Voodoo Child and Little Wing and Along the Watchtower and Red House. I actually prefer Voodoo Child, not Voodoo Child, Voodoo Child, the blues version, to Red House. I think Voodoo Child is one of Jimi's standout blues tracks, even more so than Red House. Red House is an amazing blues track, but I think Voodoo Child just eclipses it in blues kind of feel. It's just unreal. Voodoo Child is just terrifying. That riff is just, he's down tuned to D, but it's just gorgeous. I mean, I'd prefer that to that. Then that's really cool as well, but Voodoo Child is better to me. And I think that gets overlooked as well, Voodoo Child. So yeah, Electric Ladyland is my favourite album by far, but I do love Axis Borders Love, I do love I Experience, I love South Saturn Delta, I love all the live albums I've got, I love all the bootlegs I've got, the Royal Albert Hall bootlegs and stuff like that, all these random records I've got of Jimi, and I think are brilliant. I mean, it's just that Jimi was not... And anything you hear that is a bit like, Jimi would never have wanted you to hear that. It's the Hendrix estate money grabbing. That's what's going on there. I've noticed recently they're going to re-release Electric Ladyland again because it's like the whatever anniversary of Electric Ladyland, and I refuse to buy it just because it's like, you're just trying to make a cash grab. The Hendrix estate are cash grabbers. They really are. I mean, the Fender Voodoo Child Strat was a cash grab. It's just ridiculous. It's not the relicing on it. Like, it looks nothing like any Jimi's guitars. Just because it's got reverse pickups doesn't mean it's a Jimi Hendrix Strat. Why don't you just reissue a exact replica of Jimi's white Strat? I'm sure Fender could do that. They have done that in the past. Why can't they re-release that? You got the Monterey Strat. Why not release Jimi's white Woodstock Strat? Or the black one he played at the Monterey Pop Festival. Or, the other one he smashed and painted, which is really, really cool. Why don't Gibson re-release his Flying V as a signature Jimi Flying V? Because Jimi's Flying V is amazing. Or his SG. Get his SG. Do a custom SG of Jimi's SG. But no, we'll release this nonsense Stratocaster and call it the Voodoo Child Strat. I don't know. I'm in one of those moods. Question 2's got me in a weird frame of mind. I was already in a weird frame of mind today as it was. I went into it last night and it's got hold of me and my brain will not let me go. So yeah, question 2 exacerbated that in not a bad way, in kind of a good way. It gets things out of me, and that's if it's out, it feels better than if you're keeping it in. Don't bottle anything up, everybody. It's not a good thing. Okay, so yeah, my favourite album is all of them. But if I had to pick one, it'd be Electric Ladyland. If I had to pick one Jimi Hendrix album to listen to the rest of my life that inspires me more than others, it would be Electric Ladyland. I just love it. I love it to bits. There's just some crazy stuff going on in that song. 1983, A Merman I Should Turn to Be. Most underrated Jimi song. That is the most underrated Jimi song. That is absolutely stunning. And I'm going to play a bit of it. come back! We need you! Oh, miss him. Never got to meet him, and I miss him. It says a lot about the man. Okay, so question 7 already. Moving on from question 7 now. If John Frusciante was to hear one of your original pieces of music, what would it be? The concept of John hearing anything I do terrifies me beyond belief. Because I feel that where he is now, he would just hate it. And that scares me. But if I don't know, if John was to hear any of my... Oh, I don't know, it's quite scary. I would love for him to hear the little tribute. I did an Untitled on his birthday about, I don't know when, 2 years ago? Or a year ago? I don't know. I did an Untitled on his birthday. I'd love for him to hear that because that was for him. And I would love to know if he could hear my For John album, my entire album I dedicated to him. I would love anything on there for him to hear. I'll just. In all fairness, it's terrifying, but I would love to. Even if he said you're rubbish and I hate you, why not? Why not? It's John Frusciante who said that to me. Why not? I'll be forever known as the guitarist who's inspired by a person who hates him. Does that make any sense? If John Frusciante hated what I did and hated me for it, yeah, it makes sense. I think. I don't know. But I would love for him to hear anything off my For John album, because that entire album was written for him. I wrote all those songs, those instrumental songs, for him. He'll never listen to them. He'll never hear them. And it's kind of gutting in a way. But it's fine. It's fine. It's like, you can't expect him to listen to your music if he's not that kind of person, and that's cool. But anything off my For John album, I'd love for him to hear. All my little tribute to him I did. All my version of Before the Beginning in my guitar solos thing. But yeah, just the concept of John hearing anything I've done, or actually... If somebody said, oh, by the way, John's seen one of your videos and really likes it, I think that, that'd be it. Yeah, I'd be so happy. It'd be like the best day of my, like one of the best days of my life. It'd just be like, my God, my hero, the guy who inspired me to even want to progress at the guitar. Because John does above anybody. John is my biggest hero guitar wise, and he always will be, because he's the one who made me just want to keep going. Jimi Hendrix makes me want to keep going. All my inspirations make me want to keep going. But John is the biggest influence I've got. And I love the man. I love him. I've never met him, and I never will probably meet him. And he'll probably never hear any of the music I've done for him. But that's fine. That's cool. But if he ever did, it'd blow my mind. Absolutely blow my mind. You wouldn't get me down from a ceiling. I'd be on the ceiling all day. I'd be like just absolutely over the moon. I would. I'd be absolutely over the moon. But anything off my For John album, or my For John album, if he heard my For John album, I'd be over the moon, because that was for him. That album's for him. It's dedicated to him, for him. You know what I mean? In his style, because that's the style I love to play. But yeah, it terrified me. Sorry, I'm getting a sore throat from ranting, so I'm going to have a bit of a drink. I'll be back in bottom mo. Oh no, wait, I am back, and I have a drink. Okay, so final part of question 7. By the way, this is the last question of the day, everybody. I didn't fail to mention that at this one. So question 7, final bit. Somebody also, this person also asked about like Jimi Hendrix. He also asked, did anyone ask the backstory about your tattoo? Oddly enough, quite a lot of people have asked me about my tattoo, but I've never actually spoke about my tattoo. So my tattoo is there, everybody. On my tiny little arms that never ever get to see the light of day. Yeah, my tattoo is a Japanese legendary swordsman called Miyamoto Musashi, who was, let me see if I can get these dates right in my head, if I remember. Miyamoto Musashi was born in 1584 and he died in 1645. He was actually born, people think, on the 19th of May, which is a day after my birthday, which makes me extremely happy. Because Miyamoto Musashi is one of those people who's a big influence in my life as well. And he's a legendary Japanese swordsman. He came up with a two-sword technique, and he never lost a duel. Back in, like, in the 1500s and the 1600s, when the samurai were about. Miyamoto Musashi, he came from he did come from a samurai family, but he chose to run away at a young age because he didn't like his stepfather and all this kind of thing. There's all the information out there on the internet. I sadly don't have the time to go into it, as I'm running out of time now on the camera. But Miyamoto Musashi wrote a book called The Book of the Five Rings, which I always have with me. It's not in here, but it's in my other room. So technically, I don't have it with me, but I do have it with me, if that makes any sense. But it's a great book, and a lot of his teachings of two-sword technique and sword technique in general, weirdly enough, translate to the guitar. A lot of his kind of like philosophy on sword play and how to use the sword actually translate to guitar, like, the whole thing of being mindful about what you're doing, and the fact you can do things twice but don't do things a third time. So if you make a mistake, if you're doing like a lick and you make a mistake, do it again, and then you have a chance to do it one more time. Any other than that, then you kind of like, you start to play with kind of like, you start messing around with things. But Miyamoto Musashi is an extremely influential human being, and he's a big influence on me. And being a samurai nut, I love the samurai. I love the whole concept of the samurai. I'm a big samurai nut. I really am fascinated by him. I really want to go to Japan at some point in my life. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know. But he's on my arm forever, because when I started reading his book and reading about, well, when I first started reading about him, he's just one of those people that came along and immediately clicked with me. It was just something about the way he was that just clicked with me, and I just like the way he thinks and the way he was, and also he created his own style in a time where there was one style. You know what I mean? He came up with this whole thing of using two swords instead of just one. Instead of using just a katana, he would use his katana and his wakizashi. The wakizashi is a shorter sword. It's called the honor sword. It's a shorter sword, whereas the katana is the longer sword. And he came up with the technique of using both in a fight, in a battle. So, you would use one to block and whatever, but you would use two swords. And rumor has it he was a really, really tall guy, and he used big swords, and he was very intimidating because he was really, really tall. But again, no one really knows. There's very few, because of a records kept, and because Miyamoto Musashi was never really on the radar in history and during the 1500s and the late 1500s to the 1600s. There's not a lot of massive facts, and I don't know if during the Meiji Restoration, when the samurai were outlawed, a lot of kind of samurai teachings kind of like got lost. But I do think there is certain places where you can still learn Miyamoto Musashi's way of the sword. But it's been passed down through generations. But the man's honour and integrity was incredible. And he's worth a read upon. He really is worth a read upon, everybody. Okay, he really is. So it's Miyamoto Musashi on my arm, everybody, and he'll be there forever because he's a very big influence on me, and I just want him there all the time. Because he gives certain things to me. He gives a certain mindset to me, which was his, and he's taught me. And it's crazy to think that somebody born in the 1500s who lived to 1645. You live to a good age, can still influence somebody in this day and age, 2018. He's still influencing me, and he was born that long ago. I mean, this is a man whose last wish was to be buried stood up in full armor, so he can protect his lord after he's dead. He's actually buried, stood up with full armor, with weapons. And that's just incredible. You don't get that kind of integrity anymore. Anyway, everybody, I'm going to have to get off because I'm nearly out of time. So thank you very much. Hope I've answered your questions okay. And I'll see you all again very soon for another video. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. Goodbye now. Oh, I have a pedal to demo for you on Friday, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed that video on Friday. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope I answered your questions okay. I'll see you again. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. Goodbye now. Hope my ranting hasn't been too much. By the way, yeah, I actually do have his book with me. It was on my amp. So, yes, thank you, Miyamoto Musashi. So, goodbye now.